Welcome back, my friend. There's a moment in life when it feels like the rug's been pulled out from under you. The people you thought you could rely on, the relationships you invested in so deeply, the love you gave with every ounce of your heart. Suddenly, it all slips away, and you're left standing alone, questioning everything. When someone you cared for walks away, it's not just a wound, it's a complete upheaval. The silence that follows can be suffocating. It's the unanswered calls, the space they once filled now hauntingly empty, and the crushing weight of a goodbye you never saw coming. And as that person moves on, you're stuck wondering, why didn't they fight for this? Was I not enough? Did I mean anything to them at all? But here's where the twist comes in, the part they never saw coming. They thought you'd chase them. They imagined you'd crumble, begging for answers, reaching out in desperation for one last shred of connection. But here's the thing. You didn't. You didn't give them a single ounce of that reaction they expected. Your silence. It's more powerful than they could ever fathom. It's the one thing they never prepared for, and it cuts deeper than words ever could. When you stop chasing, when you stop fighting for something that isn't fighting for you, it forces them to confront the uncomfortable truth. Your absence speaks louder than any argument, any confrontation ever could, and they can't ignore it. They might act like they don't care, like it doesn't bother them, but trust me, that silence is eating away at them. It makes them question everything, every decision, every moment they took you for granted. And slowly, they'll begin to realize they may have walked away, but they'll never walk away from the impact you left on their soul. That realization hits harder than any apology, any regret, because silence isn't weakness. It's a display of unmatched strength. When you stay silent, you're telling them you don't need them to complete you. You've always been whole. You've always been enough. And as time goes on, that silence starts to speak volumes. It goes from a whisper to a roar in their mind. They'll check their phone, hoping to see a message from you. They'll scroll through your socials, wondering if you're still there. They'll lie awake at night, fighting the growing regret. But by then, you'll already be far ahead, leaving them in the dust of their own choices. So, if you're feeling empowered by this silence, drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence speaks louder than words. Let's dive into it. Number 1. The illusion of control. People often fall into the trap of thinking they can control others, especially when they believe they hold emotional leverage. When they walked away, they did so with an air of confidence, thinking you'd crumble, begging them to stay, proving your worth even after they discarded it. They thought they had the upper hand, that you'd be the one drowning in regret, chasing after them, desperate for a second chance. But something unexpected happened. You didn't chase, you didn't beg, you didn't reach out. You did the one thing they couldn't fathom, nothing. And just like that, their carefully constructed illusion shattered. Now instead of feeling empowered, they're left wondering, why haven't you called? Why haven't you sent that desperate text? Why aren't you reacting the way they assumed you would? That's when the real game begins. They thought they were in control of the situation, but the tables have turned. They start to question everything. You've disrupted their reality. Their absence was supposed to trigger an emotional outburst from you, a cry for validation. But instead your silence is deafening, and it haunts them. They can't handle it. They wanted to feel important, to feel like they mattered, but now they're grappling with the fact that you're not just okay without them. You're thriving. Here's the thing. Silence isn't just the absence of sound. It's a force in itself. It shatters the illusion they've built, that you were the one who needed them more than they needed you. When that illusion crumbles, so does their control. They were relying on you to react, to fall apart, but instead they're left alone with their own insecurities. And that's when they realize they weren't the one with the power all along. You were. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When you embrace silence, you're no longer focused on the pain of losing someone who wasn't meant to stay. You're focused on the empowerment of reclaiming your peace. You stop seeking closure from someone who was never capable of offering it, and you start creating a mindset that's bulletproof. Your silence forces them to face the reality they didn't want to accept, that their presence in your life wasn't as essential as they thought, that you're not falling apart without them, that you're stronger than they ever gave you credit for. And the best part, you don't need to do anything. No confrontation, no explanations, no begging, just silence. Your silence becomes their punishment, a reminder that they no longer have the control they thought they did. And the more time passes, the more they realize they were the ones who needed you all along. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence is my power. I control my own peace. Let's dive deeper. Number 2, the weight of regret. People often don't realize what they have until it's gone. They take love for granted, assuming it will always be there, waiting for them. When they walked away, they thought it was the right move. They believed they could replace you, that they could move on without missing a beat. But now, their world is changing, and your silence is proving them completely wrong. At first, they dismissed it. They convinced themselves they didn't need you, that your absence wouldn't affect them. But as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, something started to shift. That silence, once so easy to ignore, became suffocating. Now they're awake at night, haunted by the memories they never valued before. The way you always had their back, the support you gave when no one else did, the way you stayed even when they pulled away. That's when the weight of regret hits them hard. They start asking themselves the questions they never dared to before. Did I ever truly appreciate them? Did I throw away something irreplaceable? What if I was wrong? It's human nature to overlook the things that keep us grounded until they're no longer there. And now that you've vanished from their life, they're forced to face the emptiness you left behind. They search through old messages. They scroll through your social media, hoping to catch a glimpse of something, anything, that shows you still care. But instead, all they find is silence. That silence, it's louder than any words could ever be. Here's the powerful truth. When you choose silence, you're not out to punish them. You're simply refusing to remind them of what they lost. You're giving them the space to truly feel the weight of their decisions, and that's something they won't forget. Regret has a way of creeping into the mind, forcing us to confront what we ignored for far too long. And now, as they wrestle with that regret, they finally understand the value of what they had. They had someone irreplaceable, someone who truly cared, and they let them go. This is why silence is your most powerful tool, not because it's meant to hurt them, but because it forces them to face the truth. As Epictetus wisely said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You could have chased after them. You could have begged for closure, but instead you chose to stand in your power. You chose self-respect. And now they're the ones suffering in the silence of their own regret. Number 3. How ego shatters when you stop chasing. Ego thrives on one thing: attention. It feeds on the belief that someone will always be there, eager to chase, to seek validation, to prove their worth. When they walked away from you, they were sure of one thing: you would be the one to pursue them. They thought you'd be the one to text first, to beg for answers, to constantly remind them of how much you cared. They expected you to chase them, to keep that emotional door wide open. But when that didn't happen, when you chose silence instead, that's when their ego took its first devastating blow. At first they convinced themselves it was nothing. They'll come around, they thought. I'm sure they'll reach out soon. But as the days turned into weeks, the silence began to gnaw at them. They couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Now they're staring at their phone, frustration mounting, caught in a spiral of confusion and self-doubt. The truth? Nothing crushes the ego more than realizing you're not as important as you once believed. Your silence forces them to confront their own fragile sense of self-worth. Maybe they weren't as irreplaceable as they thought. Maybe they were never the center of your universe, and that realization, that is what shatters their sense of control. They begin to question everything. Why haven't they chased me? Did I overestimate my power? What if they've already moved on? Here's the thing. Ego can handle anger. It can handle conflict. It can even handle a temporary separation. But what it cannot handle is being ignored. Silence is the ultimate rejection. It doesn't fuel their pride. It doesn't offer the closure they crave. It doesn't reinforce their belief that they still have control over your emotions. And that's why it destroys them. They thought they were the prize, but now they're seeing that the real prize was always you. Seneca once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And that's exactly what you're showing them. By not chasing, by not reacting to their moves, you're demonstrating that your value, your self-worth, isn't tied to their approval. You're in control of your own emotions, your own peace. And in doing so, you're delivering the hardest blow their ego has ever faced. They never had the power they thought they did. They thought walking away would put them in control, but what they didn't realize is that it put you in the driver's seat. Now they're the ones left questioning their worth, the ones left feeling insignificant because you refused to chase, refused to feed their fragile ego. Number 4, how your absence forces them to face themselves. Before they left, they had the luxury of your presence, the constant comfort of knowing you were there, offering your love, your time, your unwavering loyalty. But now, that luxury has vanished. The space they once occupied with ease is now silent, and in that silence, something changes. They're no longer distracted by you. They are forced to face the one thing they've been avoiding all along, themselves. When you were around, it was easy for them to escape. You were their crutch, their emotional backup, always there to absorb their flaws, to offer validation, even when they didn't deserve it. But now, with you gone, there's no one left to blame, no one to shift the weight of their own emptiness onto. The silence you've left behind starts to eat at them, And that's when the regret begins to settle in. They start asking themselves the hard questions. Why didn't I value them when I had the chance? How could I have been so blind to their worth? Did I destroy something real? These aren't easy questions to answer, and that's exactly why your absence is more powerful than anything you could have said. Words can be brushed aside, ignored, or argued against. But silence can't be dismissed. It demands introspection. Now they find themselves looking back at the moments when you were still in their life, the way you supported them without hesitation, the kindness you gave so freely, the love you offered without expectation. And for the first time, they start seeing those memories through a different lens, not as something they deserved, but as something they took for granted. Your absence has become their mirror, forcing them to confront who they truly are. They thought they were in control. They thought they were the strong one. But now, as they sit in the quiet of their own mind, they begin to understand the painful truth. The issue was never you. The issue was who they were when they had you. And now, they must live with the weight of that realization. Seneca wisely said, "The greatest wealth is to live content with little." And this is the lesson your absence teaches them, that you don't need them to feel whole, that your happiness was never dependent on their presence, and while they remain stuck in regret, you are moving forward, unbothered, at peace, and in full control of your life. This is the final, most powerful lesson your absence offers. They had everything they needed when they had you, but now they're left with nothing but the crushing weight of their own reflection. Number 5, the ego-shattering silence they never saw coming. They thought they had it all figured out. They assumed you'd always be there, waiting in the wings, ready to pick up the pieces when they walked back into your life. But when you didn't chase, when you didn't react, their entire illusion came crashing down. Your silence isn't just absence. It's a force. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't seek answers. It doesn't need closure. It simply exists, powerful and unyielding. And that's what destroys their ego. When they walked away, they believed they held all the power. They thought they had control. They assumed they could return at any time, and you would be there, eager to let them back in. But now they're facing a reality they never expected. You're no longer an option. At first, they might have brushed it off. They told themselves, "Oh, they'll come around. They're just playing hard to get." But as the days stretched into weeks, and weeks into months, something inside them shifted. The silence grew heavier, unbearable. They kept checking their phone, hoping for a message that never came. They scrolled through your social media, searching for any sign that you were still thinking of them. But all they found was emptiness. And that emptiness, it was suffocating. Your silence became the rejection they never anticipated. People with big egos thrive on validation. Even if they don't want you, they need to know that you want them. But when you refuse to feed that ego, they begin to panic. Why aren't they chasing me? Why aren't they trying to win me back? Did I mean nothing to them? These questions haunt them, and with every passing day, their confidence starts to crumble. It's in that moment, when their confidence falters, that they realize something crucial. They were never the ones in control. Your silence has become the force that dominates them. It's a painful realization for them, one they didn't expect. They never truly understood you. They assumed you were dependent on them. But now, They see that you're thriving without them. This is what shatters their ego, not just losing you, but the realization that they were never as important to you as they thought they were. They were never the main character in your story. In their mind, they were supposed to be the ones dictating the terms, but now they're a footnote, a passing chapter in your life, while you've moved on to the next page without them. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury, and that's exactly what you're doing. You're not out for revenge. You're not trying to prove a point. You're simply moving forward in silence while they remain trapped in the regret of their own decisions. Let them sit in that discomfort. Let them feel what it's like to be left behind, to watch you thrive from the outside. Because now, the only thing their ego has left is the painful memory of losing someone who no longer cares. Number 6, the change within you that they never saw coming. Here's the harsh reality they never saw coming. While they were busy walking away, you were evolving. They thought they knew exactly who you were. Someone who would stay stuck in heartbreak, replaying the past, waiting for them to come back. But what they didn't expect was your transformation. You didn't stay broken. You grew stronger. You didn't let their departure define you. Instead, you let it ignite something powerful within. At first, it hurt. The silence was deafening. But instead of letting it swallow you, you turned it into a catalyst for change. You stopped focusing on them, on the past, and started putting all that energy into who you were becoming. And now, the person they thought they knew is gone. The version of you that tolerated their excuses, accepted their half-hearted love, and settled for less than you deserved. That person no longer exists. You've become someone who understands their worth, and that realization, it's eating at them. It's not just you they miss. It's the control they thought they had over you. But that control, gone. You've reclaimed your power. And the worst part is they never saw it coming. They thought they could leave, come back whenever they wanted, and everything would pick up right where it left off. But what they're facing now is a reality they never prepared for. The new version of you doesn't need them. You've moved on, and it's impossible to reverse. They're watching from the sidelines, trying to figure out where things shifted. They see your confidence. They see your inner peace. They see someone who has outgrown them in ways they can't even comprehend. And it stings, because no matter what they do, they can't undo your growth. They can't erase the lessons you've learned. They can't unsee your worth. You are no longer an option. They missed their chance. As Epictetus wisely said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. And that's exactly what you've mastered. You no longer crave their approval. You no longer need their presence to feel complete. You've found peace within yourself. And that's something no one can take away. Let them watch from afar. Let them regret. Because the person they walked away from, that person is never coming back. Number 7, the power of detachment. And here's the truth they'll never understand. The greatest power you've unlocked is the power of detachment. It's not about seeking revenge or proving anything to them. It's about releasing yourself from the chains of their influence. The moment you stop chasing, everything changes. You begin to realize that your life was never meant to be lived in pursuit of someone who couldn't appreciate you. Your worth was never tied to how much attention they gave you, or how little they offered in return. You detach, And in that detachment, you reclaim your power. They thought they could come and go as they pleased, walk in and out of your life, and still have a seat in your heart. But when you make the conscious decision to detach, you shatter that illusion. You stop waiting for them to reach out, stop hoping for the closure that never comes, and stop giving them control over your thoughts. And that's when true healing begins. No longer do you allow their absence to feel like a loss. You recognize it as a blessing, an opportunity to rebuild, rediscover, and finally put yourself first. Detachment isn't about coldness. It's about freedom. It's the freedom to stop chasing validation from those who never saw your true value. It's the freedom to let go of people who never deserved your love in the first place. You no longer seek their approval because you already know your worth. And that's what terrifies them. They thrived on your need for them, on your hope that they would return. But now, with your absence, they feel the sting of something they never expected. The loss of your energy, your love, your attention. Marcus Aurelius said, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind." And guess what? You're done thinking about them. You're no longer obsessing over what went wrong, replaying every moment in your mind. Your focus is on your future, on your growth, your peace, and your own happiness. So keep moving forward, keep growing, keep choosing yourself. Detachment is your superpower. It's not weakness, it's strength. It's not giving up, it's choosing to heal, to thrive, and to never settle for anything less than what you truly deserve. You are not their second choice. You're not waiting for them to come back. You've already found your inner strength. You've already chosen yourself. And that, my friend, is the most powerful decision you'll ever make. Drop the affirmation in the comments. I am no longer their option. I am my own priority.